A lot of these people, what they do, and I believe it's one of the best ways to build a product, is to follow the audience first approach, where you kind of know you want to build stuff for indie hackers or, I don't know, for surfers. You already have your niche and you start cultivating a following and an audience around it. And you start like knowing people. So you assemble this trust and they already trust you and they know that you are good for your word and your products are good. And that makes it so much easier for you to launch your products and even to get people to pay for it even before they launch, because they already trust you, because I've been doing this for a year and they know me and they know what I'm worth.
All right, welcome to today's VidTao Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Tiago Ferreira. Tiago is one of the leading indie hackers in the sort of indie hacking software development space right now. So this episode is kind of divergent from a lot of our more marketing focused podcasts, but what I think it's really interesting is talking to Tiago about just how a software comes to life in terms of starting with an idea and thinking about ways to solve a problem and then really taking basic steps to actually solve that problem with software. And that's something that we did with VidTao. And I think a lot of people get the idea that it's maybe out of their realm of expertise to build software, that they need to learn to code or need to be technical somehow. But what I think you'll understand from talking to Tiago here, who is a developer, just how it starts with seeing a problem that you want to have solved and then approaching it from that standpoint, and just how in reach it can be to solve your problems with software that you really think about, design, and then whether you do it yourself or collaborate with other people, then go and build. So, but we're also going to go over some really interesting growth hacks that he's uncovered while running Indy Lottery, which is kind of like the real specialized version of Product Hunt. And he's been successful growing that. So we're going to get some great takeaways on that front and a whole lot more. So without further ado, let's dive into our podcast with Tiago.
This podcast is brought to you by VidTao.com. VidTao is our free YouTube ad library and spy tool, research tool. It's VidTao.com. At VidTao, we have close to 1 million unlisted YouTube video ads that you can search, find, discover how they're doing on a day-by-day basis. So you can really see what ads your competitors are running, see ads in different markets that you can model to create new winning ads for yourself, and a whole lot more. It's all there inside VidTao.com. Plus, we have a premium edition. So the database is free to access, but then we also have a premium edition where you have full unlimited access to the database. And inside there, we also provide training. So we also run an agency called Inceptly. That's INCEPTLY, Inceptly.com, where we've managed over $150 million on YouTube. It's a video traffic agency, and we've worked with everyone from brands like Descript.com, Huel, to real scrappy direct response info products, supplements, health, beauty, e-commerce, you name it, we've done it, and love sharing what we've learned. Every week we drop new training in there, everything from YouTube ad media buying to running e-commerce creatives on YouTube to hardcore tracking and attribution tutorials to really level up your data science game for advertising, and everything in between. Right now, as we speak, we're working on a training regarding YouTube Shorts. Hopefully we'll be live by the time you hear this. On and on and on. This is our passion, is video advertising, and we want to share it with you inside of VidTao Premium. And actually right now, for a limited time, you can get access to VidTao Premium for a very special price. So if you go to VidTao.com, sign up for free, check out the database, upgrade to premium for this very special price, so you get access to all of the database and all the trainings. And also wanted to add that at Inceptly, we do free brainstorm calls with clients like you. So if you ever want to get help or ask questions about your YouTube ads, your video traffic on other platforms, we're available to chat. Just go to inceptly.com/call, CALL, and set up a time to chat. It's free, and would love to speak with you. Our team's waiting to speak with you. So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Tiago, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
So tell us, what's your current project, your current number one project work on? You got a lot of stuff going on, I know, but current project.
Wow, you are asking me to pick one.
Yes, favorite child here. Yeah.
I think at the moment I would say that my my main project, or at least where I'm focusing the most, is the Indy lottery.
Uh-huh.
But just because it's a new project and there's still a lot of things that I need to build. But I would say that I have three main projects at the moment. So the Indy lottery, the community, and the podcast. But yeah, now I'm focusing more on the Indy lottery.
Got it. And so anyone out there ever heard of Product Hunt, right? How does it, tell me, like, Product Hunt's amazing for people launching products.
Right.
We were actually on there a while back with VidTao, and tell me what's the sort of sub niche, or how you're approaching, this particular project relative to something like Product Hunt.
Mm-hmm. Great question. So it's very similar. Both are targeting indie hackers and indie projects, and both are a way to get attention and traffic to your product. Product Hunt requires a big audience. So I can give you an example. The first time I shared, or I launched one of my projects on Product Hunt was in the beginning. I was just starting, I believe, the community, and I was really excited. I built everything, made the landing page, I launched it, and then I got a whopping 5 upvotes. So basically, I spent a bunch of time and no one saw it, right? So I was really demoralized, and I thought, okay, why is this happening? And I kind of forgot about Product Hunt, but at the same time, I saw so many people having so much success. So after a while, I kind of realized that the secret to Product Hunt is actually to already have a pre-existing audience, right? So the trick with Product Hunt is, first of all, it's really important to know that your product is visible for 24 hours, right? And this 24 hours starts at midnight Pacific time. So for me, it's 8 a.m. So I need to wake up at 8 a.m. And those first 2 hours are crucial. Those first 2 hours define if I will have a success launch or not. And the reason is I need to get as many upvotes as possible to be above the fold, so people can see me, and then they will basically vote on me, and it's kind of snowballs, right? So if you have no audience, no one to help you with these force upvotes, it's impossible for you to launch on Product Hunt. And then I start also to question how valid is this kind of form of launching your product? Because in the end, what I did was I messaged all my Twitter followers, and they don't even check my product. They just go there and click upvote, and I do the same for them. And in the end, we are just kind of, helping each other, pushing each other without really sharing the value of our projects. So the idea of the Indie Lottery is to be a little bit more fair and to help more the people that do not have a pre-existing audience, because there's a lot of great makers that don't know how to do marketing, right? They don't know how to create an audience, and it's really demoralizing if you tell them, okay, great, you have a great product, but now you need to spend 6 months or 1 year on Twitter, and then you can launch. So the idea here with the Indie Lottery is to take this aspect of having a pre-existing audience out and instead make it completely random. So every day at midnight UTC, we randomly pick one of the products and we send in our newsletter to all the other participants. So every day there's a new featured product, but it's completely random and you don't need an audience. So that's how we distinguish both products.
Got it. So you're sending a newsletter every day promoting one of the products in Indie Lottery.
Yeah, correct.
Got it. Cool. Can you share audience, how many people are on the list or anything like that? Is there anything you can share?
Yeah, of course. At the moment, we are 186. So just for you to understand kind of what was the process of building this project, I was watching Mr. Robot. Did you ever watch it?
Mr. Robot, yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. And it's very hacky, right? And I think it's the best for if you like coding and everything. I think that's the best or the most realistic series. And I was seeing him coding, and then I went and took a shower, and in showers where I have my best ideas. So I was thinking it's what is the best way to promote a product? So I thought, okay, maybe, and I had the first idea of the Indie Lottery, and I sat down and I coded everything in 3 hours, and it was super ugly, super MVP version. And I launched it, and people liked it. I was like, okay, cool. The conversion rate is great. and I launched it on Product Hunt, by the way. I got a bunch of people, and then I automated everything, but then I didn't think too much about it. But then a friend of mine who is a great designer approached me and said, like, Tiago, I also want to do, he's an entrepreneur already, but he wanted to do more projects. And I said, okay, let's team up and rebuild this lottery. So we did that. And now the design looks much better, much more professional. And we launched it 2 weeks ago, and it's been growing again. So
Nice.
now I think in the beginning of this week we had like around 120 or something. So we already gained a lot of subscribers, and people really like it. So
You grow by 50% this week. You launched 2 weeks ago, like from 120 to 180.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, but very cool. Very cool. Interesting. And it's all automated. So you're like, basically people are submitting their projects, and then you're picking a winner and sending out the email automatically every day.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that part is full automatic.
Very cool. That's fantastic. Nice, man. So how did you get into this whole space? Walk us through like the indie hacker phenomenon. What is an indie hacker? And then how did you get all involved in this?
That's a great question. And it's something that I also question myself a lot, which is how old is this phenomenon, as you just said? I don't know if it's something new. Like, I know this for around a year. That's when I started, a little bit more than a year. I know that, for instance, Peter Levels is a guru, is like the god of indie hackers, and he's doing this for a long time. But I think the whole movement, indie hacker movement, is quite new, because a lot of people I interview as well in my podcast are like started this quite recently. But the way I started was, I always kind of knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And being an entrepreneur, I always like to say there's 3 types of entrepreneurs. You have, on one spectrum, you have the, let's call it the facilitator. So it's basically someone that doesn't have a particular like skill in one area, but has a lot of like social skills and is able to connect people and build something out of nothing, right? So that's one type of entrepreneurship. Then in the other side, we have, I guess, what is the most familiar type of entrepreneurship, which is the VC startup founders. Normally, these people are good in one specific thing, and then they're also good in getting a team together. So you have your Zuckerberg, your Elon Musk, and those are the ones that you kind of grew up watching, like with the movies and everything. And I always thought that I wanted to be this kind of entrepreneur. So I consumed a lot of content around that, and podcasts and movies and like everything related to Y Combinator and everything. But then when I started my journey, I realized that I didn't want to raise money because it's so much stress. And then you have the investors breathing down your neck and everything. So I thought, I want to do something in between. I want to do this bootstrapping thing. I started with a project called Change. It's like an app for climate change. And at the same time, I was feeling really lonely, and I was feeling very anxious because I quit my job just to focus on that. I had no income. I had some savings, obviously, but that was it. So I created this podcast, and I started narrating my own journey. I started interviewing people. I got on Twitter, and kind of without noticing, I entered in this indie hackers community, which is really a bubble on Twitter. Like, Twitter has multiple bubbles, and there's one bubble just where all of us hang out and share our project. So an indie hacker is someone in between. So it's not the startup entrepreneur, is not the facilitator, is someone, indie means independent. So we try to stay as independent as possible. So no VC fund, nothing. And hacker is because we kind of hack things together, right? So we kind of learn all of the skills. We learn marketing, we learn design, coding, everything. And we try to put together a product. And a lot of these products actually make a lot of money. We are not talking about billions and unicorns. We are talking about another scale, but normally these people are solo founders, and we have people making 2K, 3K, 10K MRR. And then we also have, for instance, Peter Levels, which is actually making 1 or 2 million per year. Only like he's a solo founder. So that's what an indie hacker is.
Got it. That's super cool. So did you have the job that you quit? What was the job?
I worked as a software developer for a company called Trivago.
Okay, nice. So what kind of I'm not a developer, but just curious, like what what's your what sort of developer skills do you have? Like what languages, and how would you classify yourself in that way if you had to?
So when I was working, I mostly focused on backend
Yeah.
and DevOps. So I worked with Java, I worked with PHP, and I worked with Python.
Right.
And as well, if you are in the area, like DevOps, all the deployment and all like AWS and Kubernetes and all of that cool stuff. And on my side projects, since again I'm indie hacker, I focus on everything. So I do a lot of also front end.
Uh-huh.
So nowadays I do also like React and JavaScript and HTML and CSS and everything. So now I kind of consider myself as a full stack. I also like build apps and everything. But back then I was mostly focused on the backend.
Cool. Wow. So well-rounded skill set. Obviously your social skills are on point. You got this podcast going, talking to people. So you had a podcast going. So it was crazy. We talked earlier so you had a daily podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
How did that emerge?
So that emerged when going back to our storyline, when I quit my job and I decided I was really very anxious, and I started this podcast almost as without noticing.
Uh-huh.
I checked my phone and I saw this new app called Anchor, and Anchor allows you to create a podcast without I just defined the name and I hit a button and I started recording from my phone, and I recorded the first thing that came to my head, which was basically what was going on in my life and being an entrepreneur and everything. And then I hit publish, and suddenly my podcast was on Spotify. I was like, what? That easy? It's incredible. So I thought, okay, I'll start doing this every day from my phone. It's so easy. I just record a 10 minutes version of what is happening. Like, I want to be the Casey Neistat of podcasting. I don't know if you know the YouTuber Casey Neistat, which he did this for 500 days with his vlog.
Wow.
But for me, it's so much easier, right? Because I just have to record. So for more than 100 days, I did that every day. And then I soon realized that it was not sustainable, and that I didn't have enough things to say in one day, and it was maybe not that interesting, and the quality was not the best. So then I changed to, I think, 3 times per week, and now I'm only doing once a week. I do like my own version where I share what's happening and what's going on and what I'm learning. And so most of the times I also release an interview. So I have 2 episodes per week now.
Nice. And so that combines with your Indy Lottery website. Basically, you're interviewing the product owners or the founders who are on Indy Lottery. Well,
not necessary. I mean, my audience, right? So I'm focusing. All my projects are targeting indie hackers, right?
Uh-huh.
So of course that there is an overlap, but at the moment there's no direct connection from my podcast to the Indy Lottery. So my podcast, I just find people on Twitter that I find interesting.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I ask them, hey, let's go for a chat. I want to learn more about you.
Uh-huh.
And then if they say so, we do it. But it's not necessarily connected with the Indy Lottery. Maybe in the future, this will be a possibility. Maybe as a way to gamify a little bit the Indy Lottery, we could say, okay, you can come to the podcast if you reach a certain level. But at the moment, there's no crossover.
Got it. Okay, cool. What would you say? So what's the business model for Indy Lottery? How does that work? I know Product Hunt, you pay to promote basically, right? How does Indy Lottery work?
Yeah, it's basically the same. The same. Advertisement is crazy. Like, I had no idea, because in my community, it's a subscription based. So you pay $10 and per month, and you get access to the community. And it's extremely hard to get $10 from people. Like, it's really, really hard. So I always thought, okay, I mean, people in indie hackers, they don't like to pay, right? But then I started the Indy Lottery, and I told João, my co-founder, I told him, even before we start, we are going to make money. We are trying to get pre-sales. And he said, that's impossible. I said, oh, let's try. So let's put 4 slots in our email newsletter and as well in our website, where these slots will be only for sponsored, like featured products. People will pay and we give them 7 days in our website and newsletter, and they can also give a discount. So that way we're also producing value to the users that visit us. Let's try that out. And he was like, okay, let's see. I shared it on Twitter and I said, hey, we are looking for 4 people to start, and first come, first serve. And it's $30 or $20, I believe, the first version. But like, we shared no metrics whatsoever. I mean, we had no metrics to share. And no one ever asked. They were like, okay, let's do it. So we made $80 even before starting and even before having anything. So I kind of realized that this kind of business model is great. Like marketing, it's probably the biggest challenge for indie makers. Like, we are all desperate to get attention and to bring traffic to our products. And this idea of paying and have that without putting a lot of work, that's really amazing. That's also what we're trying to do. So that's basically the business model. So we want to attract sponsors. Well, actually, there's 2 at the moment. So the first one is that one, the main one. So people can get featured in the Indy lottery. So 7 days in the website and in the newsletter. And now we have something else that we're trying out, which is so for you to understand, once you submit your product on the Indy lottery, you also submit your email. So you will also get the lottery. You also get the newsletter. And then if you unsubscribe, which is completely fine, you remove your product from the website, right?
Got it.
So we added this functionality where you can unsubscribe from the newsletter and keep your product there if you pay $20.
Okay.
So far, no one paid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite new as well. Like, we started like 2 or 3 days ago. There's still a few things to tune. But yeah, we will also explore these other kind of monetization.
So you generated revenue before you even actually launched.
Yeah.
It's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah. You see that a lot of people doing that as well in our little indie hacking bubble, because a lot of these people, what they do, and I believe it's one of the best ways to build a product, is to follow the audience first approach, where you kind of know you want to build stuff for indie hackers or, I don't know, for surfers. You already have your niche, and you start cultivating a following and an audience around it, and you start like knowing people. So you assemble this trust, and they already trust you, and they know that you are good for your word and your products are good. And that makes it so much easier for you to launch your products and even to get people to pay for it even before they launch, because they already trust you, because I've been doing this for a year, and they know me, and they know that what I'm worth. Yeah.
Nice. That's fantastic. So you see yourself as building things to enable indie hackers to grow and get that attention that they crave. They build the product. They know how to build the products. They found this amazing idea. They're executing on it, but the challenge remains getting exposure without like a product. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, basically that's kind of my passion in this area. Like, I, as an indie hacker and entrepreneur myself, and as a developer, I've met so many people with great ideas, and so many of them, they never really act on them because they don't know even where to start. And it's really something that you need to learn, right? It's like coding or a language or something. When you start, most of people make the same mistakes. Like, they are really afraid that someone will steal their idea, which is nonsense, but it's like everyone has the same issues. And then they overbuild and they did not get any feedback. And there's a lot of little mistakes. And what I thought is, like, if I can create ways of like helping these people to overcome these mistakes faster and to build great products and then get traction, that's something amazing, because I'm enabling people to somehow change the world. So yeah, that's definitely my passion.
Very cool. What's the most surprising product that's come across indie lottery so far in the past? You've been live for 2.5 weeks, right? But
yeah,
you've had a few come through. What's the most surprising one you've seen?
Wow, that's a good question. So there's a lot of interesting products. There's the most surprising or the most useful? Like one that I recently saw, and this is a bit unfair because I only remember the recent ones, right? But one that it seemed really useful. I forget the name now, but it's kind of a very simple tool that allows you to bookmark tweets.
Oh,
So if there's a tweet you like, you can say, okay, save it. Because quite often there's tweets that I like and then I kind of lose them forever.
yeah.
And I know there are some tools, I think Black Magic, for instance, does that, but I just wanted something to save those tweets. And I just found that tool and I thought, okay, this is really cool. There's really interesting projects it's just interesting to go and browse through the projects in the Indy lottery. And one thing, by the way, that we just launched is, this website called Built With?
Yep. Of course. Yeah.
So we did a partnership with them, which is really cool because I just told them, hey, we are doing this and I want to use your API so that I can see the technology that is being used in these indie projects. And they said, okay, here are a bunch of credits, do it. Just make sure that you put your logo there and that's it. It's like, perfect. Like we didn't have to pay. We just did this partnership. And now when you click on each product, you also see the technology that is being used.
Wow.
And this is super cool because
That's
you really get
cool.
to see, wow. And my idea is to do some statistics as well so that we know which kind of technology is most used in each domain per indie product. So sometimes it's just fun to go there and check out all the projects and and see what technology is being used and what they are doing. And yeah, it's really cool.
That's super smart. So you just reached out to them and said, hey, we got this project, would love to use your API. I know that they're in Australia, right? It's like it's solo founder, actually, I think, Built With.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also solo founder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Small team.
I don't know where he is.
I think it's in Australia. It's like 8 people. And I think he handles most of the customer service himself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary is his name, right?
Gary. Yeah. Amazing tool. An amazing tool. Like, and I think it's like 30 million a year business or something.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have him in the podcast. I already asked him because I would love to understand more. So the story how I found his tool was actually from the community I run. Someone shared it. I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I checked it out and then I forgot about it. And then when I was building Indy Lottery, I thought, wait, this would be a really cool integration. And then I just sent him an email and he answered, like Gary himself answered. And I don't really know him and I don't know where he is, but it makes sense that he's in Australia because we mostly communicate at it's 3 a.m. here. So it's probably morning at his time.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he's in this kind of time zones.
That's cool. That's great. Good idea, man. Yeah, it's impressive how you're executing on all these fronts. What would you say, who are your, in the indie hacking space, who are the sort of icons that you look up to or just role models who are maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of where you're at right now, perhaps, where you are thinking okay, that's the direction I want to go?
Yeah. So definitely the people that I look up the most is most likely Peter Levels, because he really embodies what I believe to be an indie hacker, right? So he is really solo founder. So even though he has great products with a lot of traffic, he never really scaled up his team. I think he has some contractors or something, but nothing big. And he's already making a lot of money, but he keeps on building new stuff.
Okay.
And now he's doing a cool project with AI and everything. So I really like that. So in terms of spirit of indie hacking, yeah, that's him. But then I don't really learn a lot from him because I just see him succeed. I don't know how I even got him in the podcast, and we did chat and I kind of understood some things, but a lot of these things, I don't really understand how he makes things work. And then there's a few others where from which I learned more, Tony Dean is someone quite new in the indie world. He started when I started, but he's making much, much more than me. I think he's making 20K per month already or something like this. And he really shares everything. He really does the building public. He takes it really seriously. And he has a really great newsletter and he shares all of his experiments. And I've learned a lot from him. Recently he spoke about the viral loop and why it is so important to build products that already have like an integrated viral loop. And I thought, okay, this is genius. Like this is really, really good. And then there's a lot of interesting people as well. I always try to, like, recently I interviewed Marie from Taliform. It was really like such a nice person, and I loved how they built Taliform. So there's a lot of like people that I look up to, but let's say maybe the icons that first come to my mind would be Levels and Tony.
Nice. And so you talked about viral loop, for instance. So what's clearly, I mean, 50% growth in this past week, for instance. I know just getting off the ground and everything, that's super impressive. There's some kind of mechanism happening. Can you just talk about viral loops in terms of what you build with Indy Lottery and just how you think about this kind of growth generally?
Yeah, for sure. So we are trying a lot to implement viral loops in the Indy Lottery. I am not entirely sure if we are fully succeeding, because for now, how we are getting the most traffic to, like, the cool thing about the Indy Lottery and why I guess we are growing in a nice space is that the conversion rate is really high. Like, I think it's around 20%. So 20% of the people that come to the website, if they are indie hackers, they have a product, they end up submitting their product. So we don't need a lot of traffic to grow, right? Okay. And there's that, like, again, if you want to learn more about viral loop, I highly recommend checking Tony Dean and the tools he does. But what we are trying to do, we're trying to implement it in many ways. One, which is not a very good, or it's a very weak viral loop, but kind of works, is whenever you post your products, we have like a tweet button. And here I want to give a great tip, by the way, something that changed my life a little bit, because so before there's the share buttons, like share on Instagram, share on Facebook, share on Twitter. That's everywhere, but they barely work. Mm-hmm. One thing that I took from actually Anthony from Indy Worldwide that really changed everything is to put an image of how the tweet will look like. Mm-hmm. So you prepare the tweet and you say, hey, share this tweet, and you put a picture of how it would look like and then a button, and that increased conversion a lot. So, I mean, it's not an entire viral loop, but it's a little bit. So people post or submit a product on Indy Lottery, then they tweet about it, other people will see it, then they'll post, and then they'll tweet about it. So that's one version. The other one that we're exploring is to do the same, but for the winners. Mm. So if you win the Indy Lottery, you get access to a free featured slot, actually. So you say, hey, you can now have your product featured for 7 days for free. You just have to tweet. So that's another idea. And then the third idea that we are still implementing is adding badges, like product hunt. So product of the week, you were the one with the most views this week. Congrats, you win this badge. And here the idea is that people like proudly showed this badge on Twitter and in their website.
Yeah, nice. That's really cool. So how do you encourage people who sign up they sign up with their products, right? It said like 20% convert when they hit the page to sign up with their products. How do you convert them into paid people? What have you found work there?
Yeah. So to be honest, there's still a lot of work to be done here, because now we are kind of focusing in getting people in the lottery, so that the more people we have in the newsletter, the easier it will be to get sponsors, right? Of course. One thing, okay, great, I pay $20 or $30, and then 180 people will see my product. It's much easier to sell if 5,000 people will see your product, right? Yeah. Or 10,000. So now we are mostly focused on like growing the lottery and make the product really good, so that people also see value on it and they want to see the lottery and see who wins and check their products. But at the moment, how we are trying to convert the sponsors, we basically have a button on the website. Mm-hmm. We have the feature product section, and you say, hey, do you want to feature your product? Click here. And we send people to a Teleform where they can put the information and pay. But I would say it's still not optimized. I think the copy can be better. Like, people still don't understand. We need to give more statistics. So a lot to be done there still. And then the other is also when you click unsubscribe, So you unsubscribe the newsletter, you go to an unsubscribe page, and then again, another thing that needs to be optimized, but it says, hey, do you want to keep your product listed? Pay. and then you can be unsubscribed and still keep it listed. So those are the two ways. Yeah.
How are you finding getting people into the paid group? How's that working for you?
So the unsubscribed or like unsubscribed, keep it listed is not working at all yet. Yeah. So we started recently, a lot to be done, but at the moment it's not working.
Right.
The sponsorship, I mean, it's kind of organic. It's not amazing, but well, actually, I think we already had in 2 weeks, I think 5-6 people, 6 sponsors. So it's not too bad as well, actually.
That's crazy. You think about like this in terms of just quick math. So you got 5 divided by 180, right? So you have like almost 3% of your list is converting to a sponsorship customer.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think it's a good business model, and this is what keeps us motivated to continue. Because yes, if people see that there's a lot of attention in the website, they will pay. There's no need to convincing. It's a no-brainer, right? So we just need to make sure we have enough people and people are paying attention, and that's it. Then there's money coming in. So mostly, again, we are not focusing too much still in getting this, but people go to the website, they see they can get their product feature, or I'm not sure if in the newsletter as well, we have a click to action there. People click and then they convert. That's it. That's simple.
Got it. Makes sense. It's cool that you're testing all these different mechanisms so quickly. And you also have the paid group, right? You got this paid community for indie hackers.
Yeah.
Right. So how is it? Just curious what the value proposition is there, and then what sort of platform are you using to host that?
So the value proposition is we call it the WB space, so the wannabe entrepreneur space, is mostly for people starting out and in mid-level of their indie career. And quite often when people are starting out, they feel lonely. Like especially if they are not around other entrepreneurs, like people don't understand what they're doing, and they also don't know how to ask questions, how to ask feedback. So they end up quitting because they don't have this support group. So this is the value proposition of the WB space is a community, that offers kind of an office vibe, so that you can build your products and still feel like you are part of a team. And I've seen that product is a little bit more mature. I'm doing that for more than a year now, and I've seen tremendous growth. People that started with zero, well, tremendous. Like maybe I shouldn't have overestimated, but people started with zero and now are making 300, 400, 500 MRR with their projects. And a lot of them actually, they do it on the side. So they have their main job and now they build products and they are just growing and growing their MRR without doing basically anything. Well, they do a lot, but they are not putting 8 hours a day. And I think it's really great. I get so proud when I see them just announcing a new milestone. So where I hosted is on Slack, basically. That's our main forms of communication. We have a Slack channel or Slack server, I guess, with many channels. And then I also built my own website where you can create your member page, and we have a wiki with a bunch of discounts, and we have a lot of little integrations there as well. I recently created our own our own quota where if you ask questions, it goes there and you can easily find previous asked questions and everything. And then I build a lot of bots, a lot of integrations with Slack. Slack is great for that. So we do a lot of gamification. One gamification, for instance, that is really used is a streak bot. So we have a group. It's What I'm Doing Today, it's the name. And every day people go there and they share what they're doing that day. And then I have a bot that keeps track of the days, the consecutive days that you are posting in that channel. how many days do you think that is our toppest, like the main, the top streak person?
I mean, just law of averages, it's hard to get to 3 weeks. So yeah. Is it less than less than 3 weeks?
So you think, so 15 days, you said you,
Like
or
20, like 21, like 21 days.
21 days. Okay. 180.
Whoa. That's impressive.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So this includes weekends, by the way. Like
Wow.
there's, and now that person already lost the streak, but now I think our current streak master is like 112 or something.
Wow.
So it's amazing. And so that's, this kind of gamification is something that I try to do as well, because as a solo founder, I need my bots to help me out to keep things interesting.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the other part of the community.
Do you have any issues with? I'm assuming you're on the free plan for Slack. Isn't it like? So do you have any issues with people trying to look up old messages, or is that what the core you built takes care of that, like porting stuff?
Exactly.
Ah, smart. Okay, where can I sign up for this? Where can I sign up for that one? That's super cool.
You want to sign up for the community or just for the core stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, the community sounds amazing. I would say like that particular function, being able to use a free Slack account and then port all the old stuff. So you have like the day-to-day happening, and then when people want to look up old stuff, you have it all indexed on another site that can port it. So that's what your thing does.
Is that a product?
Dude,
Maybe
totally. I mean, because I'll tell you this, like we're launching our own community, and we're debating right now where to launch it. And Slack is the natural choice, just because most people use it, and most of our users who are advertisers are on Slack. I mean, I'm on Slack on my mobile phone. Like we're talking about before the call, I'm old, so Discord confuses the hell out of me. So
me too.
Yeah, it's just overwhelming. So I barely use Discord. So we're thinking, okay, what if we did Slack? But then it's like $8 per user per month. It's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, there is a product. 100%. I would, if you had it right now, I would buy it. Probably depending on your price, of course.
How much would you pay?
Question. I mean, it would have to be some kind of like fixed fee, like monthly fee, where it would make sense. Where I'm thinking, okay, I'm planning to have hundreds of members in the Slack channel, so that means like we're talking pushing, $1,000 a month in Slack fees, which is exorbitant. So I would say like probably, I mean, if for $50, it would be a no-brainer. $50 a month would probably be a no-brainer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
there's some
that's a great idea. I will build it tonight.
Yeah, I'm serious because it's I'm sure Slack is going to have some kind of, get hip to this trick and then shut it down so you're going to limit your ability to port stuff between. I don't know.
I don't think they can.
Really?
But maybe there is already products doing that. Did you search for it?
I haven't. I just thought of it while we're talking right now, because I was curious. Like I know I have a friend who has another group, and it's basically like a open source Facebook, but specific it's like a Facebook group clone. But it's not obviously Facebook, so you own the audience. You can't get locked out of Facebook, etc. So I was thinking about that, but then when you mentioned you're on Slack, and then I thought, okay, you've had this group for over a year, so you clearly have a lot of content on there. And then you mentioned the whole core. Yeah, that's brilliant, man. That's brilliant. Yeah.
So to give you a little context on that, we have, even though we are not a lot of people, there's a lot of engagement. So I don't even know, like more than 70,000 messages.
Wow.
So we crossed the 10,000 messages limit a long time ago. One thing that I noticed is that people don't really care for old messages. So quite often, like they don't want to go back. I got some people already telling me, but more like letting me know, like say, hey, did you know that Slack limits? Is like, yeah, I knew. Like, do you need it? I said, no, I don't need it. Okay. But then we have specific groups. One is called Looking for Advice, right? So in this group, people ask questions, and it's kind of a Stack Overflow, or a Quora, really. So people ask questions, all kind of questions, very technical questions, more like questions about marketing or just asking for tools, whatever. And I realized that's very cool information that we're losing. So my indie quota at the moment is basically, and you can try it out, by the way, if you go to wannabe-entrepreneur.com/questions. And it's like indexing all of these questions from this particular group, because I also don't want to make everything public, right? So it's getting all of these questions and putting there so that we don't lose that information. And then people can still go there and check out and everything. So
yeah.
I don't know, like that like after this interview, we definitely can speak a little bit more about like what are your needs. But I also know that a lot of this conversation, people don't care. There's a lot of, conversation that people just, they talk, but they don't want to keep it. But then there's other specific groups that you really want to keep it. You want to index it. You want to make it easily like searchable. So that was the idea of, and as well, for me, the main goal was to make it SEO indexable, to get a little bit of SEO traffic.
Got it.
Which is not working yet, unfortunately. But that's what we do.
That's super interesting. So basically you're repurposing all the content in the paid group to be external facing so that you're going to get search traffic. And then people, when they see it and they go, oh, I want to be involved in this kind of community, they have to become members.
Yeah, that was the idea.
That's brilliant. I love that. That's super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, love to talk more about the whole Slack integration thing.
For sure.
After the show, but it's just crazy, with the kind of it's really interesting. Like you talk to entrepreneurs, and so we're in the advertising space, YouTube advertising, video advertising, and doing a lot of tracking and stuff. We have our software that we built, solving a really simple problem, which is understanding what YouTube ads are working. So we have like a way of capturing these ads, and so users are indexing them themselves and all these things.
Right.
But we talk to entrepreneurs all day, every day, and most people have like a pretty, like a problem in their business or their business life that, if solved, would be beneficial to a lot of people. And a lot of us non-developers don't really think in terms of how we could collaborate to build something that would, solve that problem. So I'm wondering, I'm just wondering, like, what, I don't know how to phrase my question, but basically I think there's a lot of opportunity for like, some sort of like hand holding where someone who's experienced in like identifying these kinds of things, can then collaborate with someone who has like a problem to be solved. And then, you have your sort of like technical, I guess you could think in terms of like the, typical company structure, if like your technical founder, product person, and then the more of like the marketing person. I'm just wondering if any of your, in the indie hacker community, did they ever partner with, with non-technical people who might have a specific problem they're trying to solve?
Yeah. In the community, so I've partnered with a non-technical person, right? So he's a designer, but we worked in my product, kind of, so in the Indy lottery. I've seen in the community already some kind of partnerships, but nothing long-term. I think one big issue with these indie hackers is that we are also a little bit selfish. So we want to do our own stuff. Like sometimes we might be working in our dream job, in our dream company, but we are still not satisfied because it's not our own thing. So I think finding these kind of collaborations is extremely hard because you need to find two people that agree on one problem to solve and work well together, right? So I much prefer, or I think maybe it's a better approach, when like if you are non-technical, you have an idea, just like hire someone to do it, like to build the first MVP. I think it will be much easier for you because you don't have to go through the hassle of like getting someone on board and motivating them. Like one of our members, Max, like for a long time is non-technical, and then he was always speaking about his co-founder because being a technical person, it depended on him, but then the motivation was not aligned. Like he was much more motivated than his co-founder. So then it kills the motivation if both people are not like in the same page, right? So I think the biggest issue is not so much doing the pairing, or rather it's doing the pairing. I mean, there's non-technical and technical founders and they need each other, but you also need to to make this relationship work, and quite often that doesn't happen. So, but I do agree that sometimes like marketing people that are in marketing in business or in certain areas, they see problems, but they don't see the solutions that tech people see, right? Because they don't know it's possible. And quite often I see that. And the same, and likewise as well, like tech people, they want to build stuff and they have no idea that people can pay a lot of money for that. So yeah, connecting that bridge would be crucial. It's not an easy challenge to solve.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think, I guess like my words of encouragement for non-technical people who maybe are more marketing or business inclined or whatever inclined, I think is, we built software pretty extensively at this point, and it's not, it sounds, before you've been involved in a project like that, it sounds so kind of unreachable, like, whoa, building software sounds so complicated.
Yeah.
But really there are people who are experts, like you said, and you can hire, and they'll do an amazing job building out and bringing to life this solution that you might have in mind. So if you do have a solution, I just encourage people or something you want to explore. And it can be relatively, the costs can be less than you think. They can also be a lot more than you think. If you pick the wrong, even just not just picking a co-founder, but picking the wrong sort of development team can set you back quite a bit. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
If you're just starting out and you left your job, like 5,000, it's a lot of money. It's a big risk as well. It's just like you can just pay 5,000 to a developer and get a shitty job, right?
Yeah.
So it's, but in the other hand, 5,000 is nothing, right? Because as a business person or a marketing person, you know that you can make that money in like a month or 2 months, right? Like if you have the product, you know that you can sell it, right? So it really depends as well on how much you believe you can sell the product. And if you do, then you can just think, okay, 5,000 seems like a lot, but in 2 months I can get that money back. In 3 months I'm doubling it, and in 4 months I'm selling it for $1 million. I don't know, but
I mean, just think about in your case, you're pre-selling it before it existed, right? So you're confirming that there is demand for that product before you even actually build it and release it. So I mean, that's super smart.
Yeah, definitely.
So Tiago, I know you're a busy dude. Just wanted to before we run over time, I wanted to just make sure that people know where to find you, because you mentioned some amazing resources that you've built, and also I know you're active on Twitter. You have a podcast, so we definitely want to include this stuff in the description and show notes. So where can people find, Indy Lottery? How do you even spell Indy Lottery? That's my first question.
So, well, Indy Lottery, you can find everything on my Twitter. So just go to WB Tiago. In my bio, all my projects are there, like the community, the podcast. So yeah, WBE Tiago. So at WBE Tiago on Twitter, and go to my bio, and all the projects are there.
Fantastic.
Indy Lottery is spelled INDIE lottery.com.
Nice.
It's like, all together basically. But just go to the Twitter, I would say. WB Tiago, and everything is there. It's much easier.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm super impressed, man, by everything that you're building and how you're approaching it and how you're thinking about it. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd love to follow up in a few months and see, just how much it's grown and all the amazing connections that you're enabling for all these builders, which is super cool as well. So,
thank you very much. I would love to connect again and hopefully share that the Indy Lottery is making millions.
Yes. Love it. Awesome, Tiago. Well, so nice to chat with
Cool,
you,
Ian.
and have a great rest
Likewise.
of your Talk soon.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of VidTao Podcast. Again, my name is Ian Naj, co-founder of VidTao, and really appreciate you having a listen. And it means a lot. So if you have any feedback, go ahead and email us at info@vidtao.com. Love to hear your ideas for future shows, future guests. If you want to be a guest, let us know. Love to chat. Also, just as a reminder, this show has been sponsored by VidTao, which is our free YouTube ad library. VidTao.com. Again, you can go to VidTao and look up over 1 million ads at this point inside of VidTao. They're all unlisted YouTube ads. You can see what your competitors are running, track the results on a day-by-day basis, find new ads inside of our YouTube ad library, VidTao. And we also have a premium edition of VidTao. So the library is free to access, but for full unlimited access to the library, we have a premium edition of VidTao. We also have training from our inceptly.com agency, which is our sister company to VidTao, where we've managed over $150 million on YouTube. We provide training on media buying, creatives, tracking, copywriting, everything in between. It's all there inside of VidTao Premium. And right now we're running a very special deal on VidTao Premium. And you can go claim that right now at vidtao.com. When you sign up for free, you'll see the offer to join Premium, and go there and check that out. And last thing, we also do free brainstorm calls with our agency Inceptly. Go to inceptly.com/call. And we love brainstorming with you on your video advertising and just marketing in general. Love to chat. So inceptly.com/call, CALL. Would love to speak with you. So thanks again for joining us, and looking forward to the next show. In the meantime, have a great week.